Starting tomorrow, the Department of Commerce will launch the first and largest competitive climate resilience regional challenge to provide $600 million to coastal and Great Lake communities that are building projects to protect against impacts of climate change from sea level rise, flooding, and storm surge. We're investing in the people and places that have been hit the hardest, but who are also on the front lines of leading us forward. Folks, second thing we're doing, the Department of Energy is going to announce that it's investing more than $2 billion to modernize our electric grid to be more climate resilient, including more than $67 million starting off in California. That funding can help ensure our electric grid is stronger, that the lights and air conditioning and internet stay on during heat waves and storms and other climate events, so the lights can stay on in hospital operating rooms, nursing homes, and so many other critical care facilities. And third, later this year, we're hosting the first ever White House Summit that convenes local, state, tribal, and territorial leaders focused on climate resilience. It's going to include a roadmap for how these historic climate actions are going to build more climate resilient communities all across America. The impacts we're seeing in climate change are only going to get more frequent and more ferocious and more costly. Last year alone, natural disasters in America caused $165 billion in damage. Just last year alone, $165 billion in damage. We're taking the most aggressive climate action ever. It's focused on mitigation, which means historic investments in developing clean energy by reducing dependence on fossil fuel, and resilience, which means communities can better withstand the impacts of climate change and extreme weather. With the combination of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS and Science Act, we've invested more than $50 billion so far in climate resilience. Here in California, the governor, you and I stood together with first responders near Monterey Bay after touring the damage that was done. The devastating storms caused historic flooding that killed 21 people. That comes on the heels of the worst droughts in California in more than a millennia and the highest sea level rise in more than a century. I've seen wildfire devastation across the West, burning more acres to the ground than our square miles in the state of Maryland. That's how much got burned to the ground, and all the just flying over it is devastating. There's been historic tornadoes and flooding in the Midwest and the Southeast. And just last week across the East Coast and Midwest, we saw what you've already seen here in California. Millions of Americans sheltering indoors. The air not safe to breathe, orange haze covering the sky. It's incredible.